In a shocking turn of events that has sent shockwaves across the international community, the BRICS coalition, consisting of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, executed a covert military operation against a United States military base located in close proximity to Israel. This unprecedented attack has raised questions about the stability of global relations and the potential repercussions that may follow in its wake. The incident unfolded in the early hours when a series of coordinated explosions rocked the U.S. base, situated on the outskirts of Israel. It was initially shrouded in mystery, with no immediate claim of responsibility. Intelligence agencies from around the world scrambled to gather information, and as details began to emerge, it became clear that the BRICS coalition had orchestrated the assault. The BRICS nations had been growing increasingly uneasy about the United States' expanding military presence in the Middle East. The U.S. base in question had been pivotal in monitoring and controlling activities in the region, prompting fears among the BRICS countries that their interests were being undermined. A crucial turning point came when the U.S. signed a series of strategic agreements with Israel, allowing for the deployment of advanced weaponry and the establishment of military bases in close proximity to the volatile region. The operation itself was executed with remarkable precision, raising questions about the extent of planning and coordination that had gone into it. Utilizing a combination of cyberattacks, misinformation campaigns, and insider knowledge, the BRICS coalition successfully infiltrated the base's security systems, disabling key surveillance equipment and rendering it vulnerable to attack. Under the cover of darkness, Special Forces operatives from each BRICS nation, specially trained in counterterrorism and covert operations, moved swiftly and stealthily. Their mission was twofold: incapacitate the base's defenses and seize sensitive intelligence data. The attackers displayed a remarkable level of tactical proficiency, leaving the base's defenders bewildered and overwhelmed. The audacity of the operation was further underscored when, shortly after the initial assault, the BRICS coalition released a statement claiming responsibility. They justified their actions by citing what they perceived as a threat to regional stability, accusing the U.S. of undermining the sovereignty of nations in the Middle East through its aggressive military presence and alliances. The global reaction to this attack was swift and intense. Nations around the world, including the United States and Israel, condemned the assault as a flagrant violation of international law and an act of aggression. Calls for an emergency session of the United Nations Security Council echoed through the halls of power. In response, the BRICS nations argued that their actions were a necessary measure to protect their interests and maintain regional stability. They emphasized that their intent was not to escalate tensions, but to send a clear message that they would not tolerate what they perceived as an encroachment on their strategic interests in the Middle East. As diplomatic channels began to heat up, world leaders were divided in their responses. Some called for a measured approach, urging both sides to engage in dialogue and find a peaceful resolution to the crisis. Others demanded harsh sanctions against the BRICS nations, potentially leading to a full-blown international crisis. The attack on the U.S. base near Israel has thrown the global geopolitical landscape into disarray. It underscores the growing tensions between the BRICS nations and the United States, with both sides staking their claim to the strategic interest of the Middle East. For the BRICS nations, this operation served as a bold statement of their intent to protect their regional interests and challenge the dominance of the United States in the Middle East. It marked a significant shift in their foreign policy, signaling their willingness to take more assertive measures to safeguard their interests. Conversely, the United States now faces the daunting task of recalibrating its strategy in the region. The attack exposed vulnerabilities in their military infrastructure and intelligence gathering capabilities, necessitating a reassessment of their security protocols. Moreover, it brought to the forefront the need for diplomatic efforts to mend relations with the BRICS nations and prevent further escalation. The attack has not only reverberated on the global stage but also had significant regional implications. Israel, a key ally of the United States, found itself in a precarious position. The proximity of the U.S. base to its borders made it vulnerable to retaliatory strikes, prompting concerns about its security. In response, Israel ramped up its military readiness and called on its allies for support. The attack further complicated an already volatile situation in the Middle East, where long-standing conflicts and rivalries had already created a powder keg of tensions. The region now stands at the precipice of further instability, with potential repercussions for ongoing conflicts and negotiations. The economic fallout of this crisis cannot be underestimated. The BRICS nations, collectively representing a significant portion of the world's population and economic power, have long been seen as emerging powerhouses on the global stage. However, this attack has cast a shadow of uncertainty over their economic stability and international trade relationships. Global financial markets experienced a sudden downturn as investor confidence wavered in the face of geopolitical instability. The value of currencies, particularly those of the BRICS nations, fluctuated, affecting international trade and investment. Companies with significant interests in the region faced disruptions in their supply chains and operations, further exacerbating economic concerns. The energy sector also felt the impact of the crisis. The Middle East is a vital hub for global energy production, and the attack raised fears of potential disruptions in the supply of oil and gas. This uncertainty led to fluctuations in energy prices affecting both consumers and industries worldwide. One of the most striking aspects of the BRICS attack was the prominent role played by cyber warfare. The operation began with a sophisticated cyber attack that targeted the US base's security systems, rendering them vulnerable. This strategic use of cyber capabilities underscored the evolving nature of modern warfare and the increasing reliance on digital infrastructure. Cyber warfare has become a powerful tool in the arsenals of nations, enabling them to disrupt critical infrastructure, steal sensitive information, and exert influence on a global scale. The BRICS coalition's successful cyber operation highlighted the need for nations to invest heavily in cybersecurity measures and develop robust defense mechanisms against cyber threats. The attack on the US base near Israel raised important questions about international law and accountability. While the BRICS nations justified their actions as a response to perceived threats, the attack still constituted a breach of international norms and principles. The United Nations Charter emphasizes the prohibition of the use of force in international relations, except in cases of self-defense or with the authorization of the Security Council. The BRICS attack did not meet these criteria, leading to allegations of aggression and violations of international law. The international community faces the challenge of holding the BRICS nations accountable for their actions while avoiding further escalation of the conflict. Diplomatic efforts and legal proceedings may be initiated to address these concerns, but finding a resolution that satisfies all parties involved will be a complex and delicate task. Amid the geopolitical and economic ramifications, it is essential not to lose sight of the humanitarian impact of the BRICS attack. The Middle East has long been plagued by conflicts, displacement, and suffering. The attack on the US base added a new layer of uncertainty and instability to the region, potentially exacerbating existing crises. Civilian populations in conflict zones face the risk of displacement, violence, and disruption of essential services. Humanitarian organizations operating in the region are bracing for increased demands on their resources as they strive to provide aid to those affected by the fallout of the attack. As the international community grapples with the aftermath of the BRICS attack on the US base near Israel, the path forward remains uncertain. Diplomatic efforts are underway to de-escalate tensions and find a peaceful resolution to the crisis. The situation serves as a stark reminder of the complex interplay of global interests, power dynamics, and the challenges of maintaining peace in an increasingly interconnected world. The BRICS coalition's actions have reshaped the global geopolitical landscape, underscoring the need for a re-evaluation of international relations and security strategies. Nations must seek avenues for cooperation and dialogue, even in the face of disagreements, to prevent further escalation of conflicts that could have devastating consequences for the world at large. In the coming weeks and months, the world will watch closely as diplomatic negotiations unfold, economic stability is restored, and efforts are made to address the humanitarian impact of the crisis. Thank you for sticking with me all the way to the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure the notification bell is turned on so you don't miss a video.